Bahrain, Day 3. Before the sun had even reached its peak over the Sakir Desert, Lewis Hamilton climbed into the SF-26. And Formula One was never going to look the same again. Not because of a single headline lap, not because of a number on a timing screen, but because of something far more dangerous: consistency. Over 150 laps, one driver, one car, a feeling in the paddock that nobody had anticipated. So here's the question everyone is asking behind closed doors. Has Ferrari finally built the car that Hamilton always deserved?
Does it feel a little bit better than maybe it did at the start of last year? Or is it too early to say?
Too early to say.
Or has Maranello handed its new king a weapon so complex it could destroy itself before the season even begins?
I mean, it's the lowest grip I've ever felt here in my 20 years. So,
and we don't really know where we are for now.
The first 2 days of Bahrain testing told a familiar story. Ferrari accumulating laps, Ferrari hiding configurations, Ferrari being cautious. The paddock had seen it before, a team managing expectations, keeping rivals guessing. But the third day was different. From the very first stint, the SF-26 showed something that Ferrari hadn't shown in years: repetition. Not a car that needed constant recalibration, not a single-seater fighting against itself in slow corners. A car that Hamilton could simply drive, lap after lap, and return to the pit wall with answers, not more questions. That alone changed the tone in the paddock. But that was just the start, because as the long runs progressed, something else began to emerge. In medium compound simulations, the kind that reveal a car's real character, the SF-26 settled into lap times of 137 to 138 without drama. Not explosive, not headline chasing, just relentless, controlled pace. Hamilton wasn't surviving the car, he was building pace through it. And when a driver of his caliber stops correcting and starts flowing, every engineer in the paddock takes notice. Because what happened next changed everything. The data from Hamilton's technical environment began to surface, and it told two very different stories simultaneously. A car capable of fighting at the very top, and a car balanced on the edge of a razor. On the surface, Ferrari had found its base, a car that no longer seemed like a project in search of identity. Aerodynamic stability in long stints, improved traction on corner exits, a front end that finally allowed Hamilton to attack the apex with confidence instead of managing understeer. Ferrari had found clarity, and in Formula One, clarity before the season begins is everything. But here's where the story gets dark, because buried beneath the clean lap times and the smiling engineers, a pattern was emerging on the long straights of Sakir. In the section connecting turn 10 with turn 11 and out onto the main straight, a progressive drop in electrical delivery. Not catastrophic, not on an isolated lap, but cumulative, lap by lap, stint by stint. The hybrid system was not sustaining deployment with the same consistency as Ferrari's closest rivals. Hamilton adapted. He always does. He adjusted corner entry, modulated the braking phase, managed the moments when electrical deployment wasn't optimal. But that adaptation, it was also a confession. The SF-26 wasn't delivering performance automatically. It required constant, conscious intervention from inside the cockpit. And that is not a champion car. That is a complicated car. And there is a very dangerous difference between the two. Here's the truth that Maranello did not expect to face so soon. The SF-26 has an operating window, and that window is narrow, extremely narrow. When road temperature, battery charge, and hybrid map are perfectly aligned, the car is fast, genuinely fast. The intermediate sector times showed that Ferrari could be in the conversation for pole position at circuits that suit their architecture. But the moment one of those parameters shifts, even marginally, the behavior changes. The rear axle becomes lighter in transition. Stability on corner exit demands more steering correction. The active aero algorithm, which should stabilize the car independently, appeared deeply connected to the hybrid energy state, meaning aerodynamic stability was not fully independent of power management. That is not a handling problem. That is a systemic problem. And then came the red flag in the final minutes of the session. Officially, a mechanical breakdown under investigation. Internally, a signal, because the correlation between the new engine concept, the retention electronics, and the aerodynamic load in certain aggressive braking phases had created a stress pattern not fully visible in simulation. The same driving sequence that maximized corner entry rotation, Hamilton's preferred attack, was the sequence pushing components closest to their limits. Ferrari had built a car with a ceiling. The problem was the ceiling and the floor were dangerously close together. Inside the Ferrari garage, the analysis split into two planes. The optimists saw a car with genuine race pace, stable under high fuel, competitive in qualifying trim, an SF-26 that could finally give Hamilton the machinery to match his talent after a decade of near misses. The realists saw something more uncomfortable, a car that could only perform when every variable aligned perfectly. Energy map, track temperature, tire thermal window, aerodynamic balance, all five simultaneously in their ideal state. Remove even one from the equation, and Ferrari becomes vulnerable. This isn't just a technical problem, it's a strategic crisis waiting to happen. Because Formula One doesn't offer perfect weekends. Rain falls, safety cars deploy, tire windows shift, temperature swings between qualifying and the race, and every time one of those variables moves outside the SF-26's sweet zone, Hamilton will be managing rather than racing. And this is where the championship stakes sharpen into focus. The rivals watching from across the paddock, Red Bull, McLaren, Mercedes, they don't need to be faster than Ferrari, they just need Ferrari to be imperfect. Because if the SF-26 can only deliver on Saturdays when everything clicks, Sunday is where the title is decided. This wasn't just a race weekend, it was a warning. And now the paddock's biggest fear is becoming reality, that the most promising car of 2026 might also be the most fragile.
So where does this leave us? 3 scenarios, 3 possible futures, only one truth. Scenario 1. Ferrari solves the window. The engineers extend the operating range before Australia. Energy management stabilizes. The active aero becomes truly independent of hybrid state. Hamilton starts the season not managing a complex machine, but unleashing one. And the rest of the grid watches helplessly as the most experienced driver in Formula One history finally has the car he's always needed. The championship isn't a question, it's a coronation. Scenario 2. The window stays narrow. Race by race, the SF-26 delivers moments of brilliance and moments of collapse. Pole positions turn into lost podiums. Hamilton extracts everything the car offers, but the operational complexity costs Ferrari critical points at circuits where perfection is impossible. The title slips away, not because the car was slow, because it demanded too much.
Scenario 3. The rivals adapt while Ferrari searches. Red Bull washes, McLaren recalibrates, Mercedes finds what it lost, and Ferrari, with the most complex car on the grid, the highest profile driver pairing, and the heaviest historical pressure, begins to fight its own car as much as its opponents. Maranello has been here before. It knows how this story ends when internal complexity meets external pressure. Dynasties don't fall in one race, they fracture, slowly, until one day the crack becomes a collapse. The third day in Bahrain didn't crown a champion. It raised the most important questions of the 2026 season. Can Ferrari expand that operating window before the real pressure begins in Australia? Or will the SF-26's brilliance remain conditional, breathtaking on its best days, brittle on its worst? One thing is certain, Lewis Hamilton didn't just drive a Ferrari in Bahrain, he diagnosed it, he exposed it, and he gave Maranello the most valuable thing a new partnership can have, an honest truth, delivered before the stakes are highest. Whether Ferrari is ready to act on that truth before lap 1 in Melbourne, that's the real story, and it's only just beginning. If you made it this far, you already know, this season's not about who's fastest, it's about who survives the complexity. So tell me, does Ferrari have a championship car or the most spectacular time bomb in Formula One history?